What up, guys? In this video, I think it's gonna be kind of an interesting take. uh, I know, obviously on this channel, like, we're about self-improvement and learning about dating and various things like that. But for me, after a long time of like kind of reflecting on it, I almost think that dating itself like borders on being wrong. Like, and I know that we don't have we don't have another system in our society. Like, there's really no other like approach other than dating. But like, I have a friend from Kyrgyzstan who's a man, and he said like men or people in his culture don't date. He said you just get together with the parents and they present, a part, like your parents and another woman's parents, and they, bring their daughter, and then you guys meet and you can decide if you want to get married, right? And at first I thought that's kind of whack. Like, you know, why don't they just date? But then I thought about the West, like, and how effed up the dating culture has become. And I thought maybe there's actually a solid reason why they do that. Why, kind of semi-arranged marriages like that, not where they're forced to marry, but where they can choose. All right, why I think that that's actually better. And I I hope that this video would just be kind of food for thought. I don't know what exactly to do with this information because, like I'm saying, we don't really have another system. But at the end of the day, it's something to think about, and maybe you can turn it into something practical application. I just want to make it clear real quick that, like I'm saying, I think dating borders on being wrong. It's not necessarily that it is wrong. It just, it can lead to many wrong things. So it has to be done like with a lot of caution if we want to like protect people, if we want people to stay healthy and societies to stay healthy. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about why I believe dating borders on being wrong is that um, when a couple gets married, it's better that they would want to feel like they are the first for that other person. Like, they're the first person to sleep with them, they're the first person to date them, even borderline the first person to hold their hand. Like, that, way of feeling like ownership over your partner, feeling like they're the first person you've been with, I think is so important. Like, think about it, like, especially as a man, like, we'll spend our, excuse me, I have allergies. We'll spend like, or sacrifice so much for a woman that we feel like is all ours, right? And for, like, if a woman is a virgin or never even kissed a man, and maybe it goes the other way too, maybe women feel the same way about men, I can imagine, then there's no jealousy, there's no, thoughts about that person getting back together with that other person. um there's not even thoughts about that person's germs being in your, you know wife's system, even just from a mental standpoint. Maybe it's not even scientifical that another man's germs would be in your woman's body, but it feels like it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it just be so much better to be dating a partner who's never even really held hands with another man, or another woman if it's a man. And like, that type of thing, I feel like is so underrated. Like, a lot of like, society has gone flipped. It's like the opposite way. Like, it's all about how much experience you can get, and then it becomes a competition between men. Men start to feel insecure, so they're like, oh, I need more experience, than the next guy, and then slowly dating becomes so much about technique. Oh, can you kiss better than that person? Oh, can you have sex better than that other person? Can you, you know Riz better than that other person, better than that other man. Like it becomes just this thing where men specifically feel like they need to get more and more experience, but it's like, you know, men get stuck in a predicament where they kind of feel like they need experience, or else they're gonna take the woman out on the date and the woman's gonna know that they don't have experience. So that's why they constantly are chasing that experience to increase it, and it's messed up. It's like, men or women, we don't need to necessarily have that experience. Like why can't we just be, you know, compatible, search for compatibility? But yeah, I think that's the other thing, is that, you know, when society has just been having casual sex for years, it just loses its even understanding of compatibility. It's like there's no more, you know, like people become not sentimental anymore. Like they don't even care about compatibility anymore. It's not even like that. It's like, it's just who can excite the other person more with their emotional, you know, kind of excitement and and arousal and stuff. But it's like, for me, I feel like dating should be a lot about compatibility, to the point where you could be able to just talk about anything with the person that you're attracted to. It shouldn't be like oh, you bored me after that text, because people become desensitized. Like I'm saying, they become so much about their emotions, about the emotional high, and they constantly need to be entertained. But I feel like if someone's truly, you know, thoughtful, and they feel compatible with that other person, then they should be able to sit in a coffee shop and talk about anything and not get bored. Like they should be fascinated with each other. And that's what happens when you have a society with people who have depth, that they don't need to always be excited. They can sit in the coffee shop and talk about, you know, anything. They can sit in the coffee shop and talk about how they were fixing their house, you know, or their trip to the dollar store, or their, you know, anything. It doesn't even matter how their cat jumped up on the counter and slipped off. I don't know. It could be anything, but the thing is that people don't even care about being around someone that they're, you know, I don't know how to explain it. It's like people have lost the sense of beauty, where they're not even moved by words anymore. Like it's crazy, because like I always thought that women would be like more sentimental, but I find that my text messages to women are often way more thoughtful and well worded than them. Like I word my stuff well. I try to, you know, be thoughtful and detailed in my text, and actually capitalize my, you know, letters where it's supposed to be capitalized, and use punctuation, because I'm showing effort. But I found a lot of women, they're not even like, they don't even care about the usage of words. And that's weird, because it's like, as a woman, I would think women are more sentimental. They're more moved by words and thoughtfulness and, you know, tenderness, or whatever you want to call it. So sometimes you get like a half sentence back, and it's like they don't even capitalize nothing, and don't even use any grammar or punctuation or anything. And I'm like, I don't know, it just shows there's something wrong with society when even a woman does not care about their words, you know, like their word usage and stuff. I feel like it's a sign of women that are desensitized and just cold-hearted, I think. The other thing is, you know, how much damage dating can cause. And like I'm saying, it doesn't necessarily cause that, but I'm just saying that in many ways it does. Like I mean, to think about, I kind of thought about it. I thought, where do, you know, when someone is traumatized in their life, like where does it usually come from? I thought, okay, it comes from two places. It comes from their upbringing, their relationship with their parents, or it comes from their experience in dating. So if we didn't have all that damage onto somebody, then people could live well. And if other people weren't dating, then they wouldn't feel the need to be dating. I feel like that's what it is. A lot of it is just relative. People feel unwanted or whatever because they're not in a relationship, because they see other people in a relationship. But if nobody was dating and we just waited for, semi-arranged marriage or whatever like that, then things could be better. Things could be a lot better. Okay, so another part of it is I feel like while people are dating, we're often just not really working on ourselves. Like, a lot of us have a hard time finding a partner simply because, there's such a variance in society of people's, looks and their lifestyle, right? Like, for example, if like, in how do I explain this? Like, people, if everybody was not dating and just hitting the gym and working on their appearance, then it would be a lot easier in the end to find partners, right? Because I think a lot of people get caught up in dating rather than self-sacrifice, like putting in hard work to work on yourself, to work on your internal, your emotional health and things like that, your emotional intelligence. It would almost be a lot better. We could actually streamline ourselves into marriage because there would be so many more compatible partners, right? If we all put in that effort where everybody builds up their looks and builds up their emotional intelligence and their emotional health, then we could streamline ourselves right into marriage because there'd be so many potential partners. But right now there's such a variance in looks. Like, you might be in the supermarket or something and you see like a Russian woman who's like absolutely stunningly gorgeous, and then you look over and you see like, maybe an American woman or something like that, and she's like way less attractive. And it isn't always like that, but oftentimes it's like there's just like a giant variance in looks, especially in women. And maybe women think that about men too. But if we just worked on closing that gap to where everybody's like a 7.5 out of 10 attractiveness and works on themselves internally, and if we focus on that instead of dating, then it would just be a lot easier to just get into a relationship or get married, because there'd be heck of people that we'd be attracted to, right? One thing I think I didn't talk about is that I think when it does come to people being desensitized, like because of dating so much, I feel like eventually attraction flips. Where at first, when we're young, especially I think for a lot of time for women, when they're young, they're attracted to positive emotions, where it's like they get a compliment, right? And then they become attracted to that man. But then it reaches a point where I feel like people become so desensitized that they actually need to be treated negatively in order to be attracted to the person, because it's like they become so desensitized that they need a roller coaster of emotions just to be attracted. And that's definitely a problem. Like, they need to be ignored and then texted, and then ignored and then texted, so that there's constantly this anxiety and dopamine and all this other stuff, where it's like people become just so desensitized that they need this kind of emotional, just erratic system in order to even be attracted. And I feel like that's wrong. Like, when we were kids, it wasn't like that. Like, kids were just attracted just based off, positive things. It was never like a negative. It was never like, oh, I need to ignore this person or they're gonna think that I like them too much and then they're gonna lose attraction to me. Like, that shouldn't be the case, you know? Which is what you see, like, a lot, hold up, like a lot of people in their 20s are just, it goes back to like what I'm saying, they're not moved, they don't have any sentimentality, like they're not moved by anything, you know, that really has to do with love. It's more like just an emotional roller coaster and of highs and negatives and positives, you know. So yeah, I think that's another problem, right? Yeah, and like I was talking about, the damage that comes from, you know, can come from dating and the bitterness. And when a woman becomes bitter, it's not good, bro. I mean, no man should be bitter either, but I think that really all of us should just focus on having good manners and getting along with people in society and stop dating. Like, and like I'm saying, there's not really another system in the West, at least. Everybody just dates and kind of gets into marriage. Like, I mean, at least to be you know, courting, like, is good. Like, you're dating with the intention of marriage and you're leading the woman towards marriage. I think that would be good. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot in like boomer thinking, you know. And yeah, because of the lack of compatibility lots of the time, you know, and then that desire for experience, you know, people will start trying to play, you know, they'll start trying to get somebody even though they know that they shouldn't even be with that person. And I agree, because I have the temptation to do it, right? Like they'll start trying to appeal to their emotions and start trying to like you know, create little, how to explain it, they'll start trying to create little simulations of like relationships with people because they don't have any other opportunity. Like, for example, let's say, you know, that a man meets a woman and she's only in town for one night or two nights, right? He might start treating her like she's the only one on earth, or that he's into, or like he'll start creating this experience for her as if, you know, it's lasting, right? Even though they know it's only going to be there for 2 days, you know. And I feel like this type of thing is wrong. Like, people will go after people that they're not even compatible with at all, and it essentially creates this giant problem, because then the people that are dating seriously don't know what that person's trying to do. They don't know if that person is just trying to get you for one night, or they just want to have fun flirting with you, or they just want to date you for 1 month and then move on. Like, you have no idea what they're going for. And that's what makes things incredibly confusing, because then it's like you don't even know, okay, is this person like trying to, you know, if you're trying to get married, you don't know what the heck is going on. And this just creates all these different routes. Like, there's so many different routes to dating to dating these days that nobody knows what the hell to do. And I think that's a large reason why many women are just frozen, why many women just don't go on dates, because they're frozen. Like, women need, you know, they need to be able to think in a herd mentality, right? So if all the women are looking to get married, then it will be okay. Like, women can do that. But if every woman is doing something different, I feel like they all end up freezing, because there's no herd mentality anymore. They have no common thought. So they can't, I don't know how to explain it, but women don't like to, it's hard to articulate. I think that women need to see other women going in the same direction in order for them to go in that direction. But when every person in society is going a different direction, then people start freezing up, because there's no common way of acting. You know, there's no common route. Like, some people are going for hookups, some people are literally playing all freaking 5 games at the same time. They're like, okay, I'm going for a hookup, but it might turn into a relationship, or it might turn into a situationship, a friendship. Maybe that will turn into dating, which will turn into marriage. Or maybe we can date and then cohabitate and then marry. Or maybe we can marry then cohabitate. Like, it's so confusing these days that people are just, they don't know what to do, and people don't know what is going on. You essentially end up playing by so many different playbooks at once, right? And this is what it can ultimately end up hurting you, because, like, let's say you play your playboy playbook with one woman, and then let's say that doesn't work out. Let's say you don't get her, right? Because for some reason she doesn't like you, so you never end up even going on a date with her, right? But then you go and take that same playbook to the woman who's serious about dating and wanting to get married, and now she's turned off because she doesn't like that you come off like a player. Now you just lost her too. So you end up playing playbooks, the wrong playbook to the wrong person, and you end up, it F's you up. You end up getting turned down by that, by using the wrong playbook to the wrong person. Or you end up getting really good at doing your playboy playbook, you know, tricks and bags, whatever, bag of tricks for the you know, bad girls or whatever, and then maybe you end up doing your good playbook, you know, rules for the good girls, and the whole thing just gets confused. It just gets hella confused, you know. Another big, like, huge dilemma I feel like is that when it comes to dating, and this is the huge one, man, is that people don't know whether to judge somebody for their past or judge them for their present, right? So let's say that, you know, I find out a woman dated a really bad guy, right? I don't know if she's just a bad woman and that's why she went for him, or if she was truly duped and immature, you know, at that time. Like, a woman could say, or a man could say that they moved on from the past, right? But how do you know? You don't know. And even if they did move on, there's still some bitterness and jealousy and questions. Like, let's say, for example, you know, you're dating and a woman says her body count is like 3. Okay. Well, how do you know it's truly 3? It could be 15. It could be 20. It could be 25. How do you really know? And I feel like, okay, yeah, if we were in a more conservative society, you know, you also wouldn't know exactly, but at least the number would probably be more like 1 or 2 if they did break, you know, if they did start dating or hooked up with a few people. The number would probably be 1 or 2 or 3. Like, in like a Muslim society, my guess is that that's what it would be if the woman did, you know, break those moral rules or whatever. But these days, you don't know what to judge somebody for. You, like, someone could say that they moved on, they've changed. How do you know? And it's so hard. It's like, and even if they did change, it becomes so confusing to not judge them for their past actions. Like, let's say if a woman did have a one-night stand at a party, even if they matured, it's very confusing to not judge them for that behavior, that past behavior, even if they changed. And it's like, well, we can talk about forgiveness, but it's like, well, it's still there. It didn't like change, you know? And that's like another thing, is that men end up feeling actually emasculated and stupid, you know, sacrificing their life and paying bills and stuff like that for a woman who has a bad past, because they just feel dumb. They end up feeling like, okay, are they the simp? Are they the good guy that she's settling with? And nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows if she's faking it. Nobody knows if she secretly wants to go back to the party lifestyle or something like that, you know? Nobody knows, and that's why I feel like the risk of dating or hooking up or whatever is not the temptation of it is not necessarily worth the reward, right? Like, as someone who, you know, wants to be more Christian, like, I try to be more Christian. Like, I believe that yeah, Christian dating can go well. And it, like I'm saying, if you are gonna date, you have to understand the dangers and the temptations of it, right? So like I'm saying, I don't think dating is necessarily wrong. It's just the temptation of it. You have to understand it's a great, like, big responsibility. If you're gonna date, you have a responsibility to make it go well, or all these things can happen that I'm talking about in this video. So as far as, you know, men feeling emasculated by feeling like they're the good guy who ended up getting with the bad girl, I think a lot of guys, the only way to feel comfortable being with the bad girl is by feeling like they're more dominant than her previous boyfriends. And that's extremely hard to do, and that takes a lot of sexual experience to get there. It takes a lot of dating experience to feel like you're more dominant than the bad girl, to feel like you can handle her, to feel like you're more dominant than her boyfriends. So that's really the only way to be comfortable being with the bad girl. So that's another problem, because then men end up doing things in order to feel more dominant. They try to get their body count up. They try to, you know, just be aggressive and just be better than other people and be arrogant, and that just leads to a problem. I don't want to feel like if I date a woman that her boyfriend might be more dominant than me. I don't want to feel like her boyfriend, you know, was better at sex than me. I don't want to feel like that when I'm married to my wife. I don't want to feel like that at all, right? I honestly do think that, like, dating can even lead to, like, I think it's called, like, broken window effect, where, like, if someone's been mistreated in the past, then it makes people more likely to want to mistreat that person, or less likely to care. And that's honestly the sad part, is like, if a woman is a virgin, then it makes men feel like they need to preserve her, right? It makes men, like, want to treat her well. And it's maybe even the same way for men too, if a man is a virgin. But if a woman is not a virgin, then it makes men less likely to care. Like, it makes them less likely to feel like they're preserving anything. Like, there's, you know, like, they have to protect her and treat her gently. Like, especially other things too, you know, like lots of dating trauma. I feel like it just leads to women having tattoos and stuff. And it's like, when a man sees a woman with tattoos, it's like his care for her is gonna be less, bro. Like, he's not gonna wanna treat her gently. And that's honestly the sad part, is like, I feel like a lot of that dating trauma and stuff, and even childhood trauma, leads to those tattoos, and it leads to the piercings and the, you know, that type of stuff. And when a man sees that, it's just, I'm not saying that it's justified for him to treat her that way, but I'm just saying that that's what it is. Like, when a man meets a woman at the club, let's say, or anywhere, he's not gonna just have this natural deep down respect for her. It just doesn't happen. And I feel like that's a big problem with dating, is that it does lead to, I guess, what you could call broken window effect, where it's like, I think it was like that theory that if there's a broken window on a building, it makes people more likely to break another window. Even though it's the same crime, if there's already a broken window on the building, people will break the other ones. Even just one broken window, people will start breaking the other ones. So I feel like that's how it is. Like, people are going to be less careful to keep a woman safe. Men will be less careful about it. So, and on top of, you know, the damage that's happening a lot of time in dating, there's also the factor of getting worn out. Like, people get worn out from dating, and it's like they just don't feel like they have the energy. It's like they don't even, it gets to the point where, like, people don't even I think have the energy to even want to show up on a date. And even sometimes I'm like that, like with texting. Like I just don't even text women back for like a week. And it's not that I don't care, I'll continue to move things forward with them. But it's like I just feel like I don't necessarily have the energy, and people get discouraged because they're not finding the right person. And I think that's another big thing with men, is that men get distracted from their purpose because they have this fear that they can't find a good woman. So they keep getting distracted about it. They keep getting distracted from what they should actually be focusing on, their career, their education. And that's not good, because men not focusing on their purpose isn't good, and women aren't really attracted to men not focused on their purpose, right? So yeah, and then the other part about getting off purpose is that society that's very sexual and all about dating and stuff, it leads to pornography addiction. Where and women are always going to have the upper hand visually because men are more visual. So women can just end up posting things, butt pics on social media and whatever, and men get hooked to it, and it makes us feel useless. It makes men feel like we're just being used for our attention. And I don't want men to feel like that. I want men to feel like they're on their purpose, not being used for attention, right? And yeah, that's pretty much, I think it's messed up. And then the other, a couple other things is that women end up getting their biological clock ran out. They think that they have a lot of time, and then when they end up like 28, 29, 30, they're single. Okay, now they have to find a partner. They got to date long enough to find out if he's the right one. And let's say that even if that is speeded up, right? That'll probably take maybe it could take 6 months to find a boyfriend, another year to find out if he's right. If he's not right, now they're 31 and a half, 32. Let's say it takes another 6 months or a year to find another boyfriend, another 33, another year to date, another 34. And you know what I'm saying? And like, people should be working on themselves, and it would be better if we just had these semi-arranged marriages. Just get together with somebody that you like, get together with the parents, your parents, or someone wise, because we really should be focusing on wisdom. And then you get to know each other as friends, maybe in the company of other people or something like that, and you have society correct people. So if your woman ends up, or woman or man ends up being not right, like once you're married they're like end up behaving badly, well then now you have elders in the community to correct them, so everybody stays on track. But I don't know, it's really hard to say like what we can do with this information, but I want to know if anybody else is on board. Like, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts, like, because something is obviously wrong in the West. Like, people are not happy with the current state of dating. They're not happy at all with it for the most part. And yeah, I think beauty is just decreasing so much in general. It's like, when it comes to like dating, it's like you see women, how simplistic they dress now, just like yoga pants and like a hoodie or something like that. And it's like, it's all about just showing off their ass or whatever. Either that, or they're dressing like a man with like freaking like 90s skateboard clothes on or something like that. I'm like, where did the beauty go? But you see that beauty in like Ukrainian women and stuff like that. You just don't see it in like a lot of other women. And it's, yeah. As far as older women go, like, if they're gonna be older, they need another asset, and that asset could be innocence, like being a virgin, like being kind, being wise. And like, that's the thing about it, is that I feel like the feminism movement, like, it screws over older women, because the younger women who are bitter, angry, and don't care about wisdom, these women can still get a man. But when a woman is 36, 37, and she's had a has a body count, doesn't focus on wisdom, you know, doesn't focus on being humble, doesn't focus on being a good, kind of submissive, kind wife, then she it's a lot harder for her because she doesn't have other assets. Her looks and biological clock is decreasing, so she needs other assets, such as being a virgin, such as being, smart, being focusing on wisdom. But for some reason, the youth these days in the feminism movement, that whole leftist movement is not giving wisdom to the youth. So it's kind of like it screws over older women, it screws over everybody, really. Another thing is that obviously men can never get sex as easily as a woman, right? So even if we do the whole dating thing or hookup culture or whatever, it just leads to men feeling disadvantaged. It leads to men feeling almost jealous, like that women can get it easier, and this is what's gonna make men, do anything that they can to get sex. They will lie, or even if they don't lie, they're just basically gonna focus so much on it because men are competitive. It's not even just men are competitive, it's just that a man doesn't want to feel like the woman can do better at something like getting sex or whatever. I don't know, man. It just messed up because it leads to the feeling that women have the upper hand in relationships, and people don't like that. No one wants to feel like someone has the upper hand, like, oh, that person can get sex easier than me. And yeah, men don't feel good about that. They feel insecure, even though that's natural. It's natural that a woman could get sex easier because men are just ready to go sexually. It's still not a feeling that men like. I think another really bad part about it is that because women like men who can protect them, in order to be able to do that as a man, you almost have to be aware of all the evils, like in the world and in the dating world. So it almost requires you to go through those evils, to experience them yourself, or to even commit them yourself so that you can understand them, so that a woman can then see that you understand those evils and how to protect her from it, if that makes sense. So I feel like, if you're deemed as like innocent, then if you don't have a lot of dating experience, then you could be seen as like weak, like not a protector. So I think a lot of men will, it just leads to a point where you almost need to go out and experience those evils in order to be able to protect the woman. And I don't want to say that you have to, but it's almost like, a woman wants to know that you're familiar with the dangers. But if none of us were dating, we wouldn't have those dangers. We wouldn't have those toxic people. We wouldn't have those, manipulators and stuff. And women wouldn't be testing men so hard. They wouldn't try to emasculate the man because they would be taught to be kind, to be submissive to a good leader, to find somebody that they trust, not to try to date 20 men haphazardly and hope that he's the right one. Rather, they would have one person that they go for that they can trust, and it will be a good man to not damage them like this whole thing that I'm talking about. But yeah, I think that would be a good thing. I don't know if there's anything practical we can do about it. I think, maybe this video just could answer somebody's intuition. Like, people intuitively feel like there's something wrong in this society and in dating, and they don't know what it is. Maybe it's what I'm talking about in this video. And like I'm saying, I don't think dating is necessarily wrong. It's just that it borders on being wrong. So you got to be very careful that you don't hurt somebody else. And even that's a problem because it's like, people they get so hooked on their partner because they don't feel like they can leave and find somebody better. So I don't know. That's why I feel like it'd be better if everybody was just working on themselves. So if we are gonna date with a lot of caution, then you feel like you can leave and find somebody who's good. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep giving advice on dating on this channel, but these are ultimately like my thoughts on dating itself, or when it's done without caution.